Hello and welcome to another episode of Excellent Sports Talk with Mark. I'm your host, Mark Bradley, and I want to welcome you guys to another week. I know I wasn't here last week, so I definitely had to make it. I definitely wanted to make it up to you guys, and here we are. So I appreciate everybody who came through to the show. Yesterday, if you had missed it, I was able to be a guest on a good friend of mine's and a former co-host, one of my former co-hosts, him and another guy named David Griffin, a good guy. Um, I was able to host. His name is Sean Stevenson. He has a Cleveland Browns tailgate show that he puts on every week before a Browns game, and I had the pleasure of joining him on his show. So if you missed that, should be on my Facebook, but I mean, it could be there. But I had a fun time. I had a fun time yesterday, and now we are back here today together as usual. So we have a lot of great topics on the show today. So let's begin. Let's see what we got going on the show. So first, we are going to speak on the Dodgers and their World Series victory. So we're going to go ahead and speak on that a little bit. And then we are also going to talk about the NFL. And the NFL Week 7 was last week. So we are going to speak on some of the top games that I really saw and that I thought was some good games. It was a lot of good games, but I can only narrow it down to a couple. But we are going to go ahead and speak on those as well. And our last topic, we're going to talk about about the NBA season next year. We're going to talk about our top 5 teams from the NBA who's going to be it's our power ranking for our top 5 teams that's starting next year. Supposedly the season is going to start December 22nd, but then you never know. That's pretty early to say the least. I mean, basically October is over, and then once you go into November's gonna go by, and then December, and then the season starts. December 22nd is kind of the start date that they want to have, but that's pretty early. But anyway, we're gonna talk about our top 5 power ranking for next season. We're going to go ahead and dive into that. So as each and every week, I just want to thank you guys for showing up. And if you guys want to go ahead and, anytime you want to comment or anything about your favorite team or just about anything sports related, please, by all means, go ahead and give me some feedback, give me whatever. I love to interact with my viewers. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? So our first topic is the Los Angeles Dodgers. After the first time since 1988, the Dodgers are World Series champions, and it was such a monumental moment to see the Dodgers get back on the top of the MLB world. And look, this team had a lot of drama going into the season. So let's go back before we can move ahead. So the Dodgers had to fight a scrappy Atlanta Braves team just to even get into the World Series. I mean, when you're down 3-1, everybody would have thought, "Oh man, this is over with." Same old Dodgers. They always find a way to screw it up in the postseason when they done so well in the regular season like they do each and every year. Of course, all those doubts started creeping in your head. It's okay. I mean, I guess to really think about that the past, if you're a Dodgers fan, you're like, oh man, each and every year we go through this. Every time we for some reason can't figure it out. We're cursed. Baseball always thinks something is a curse. Just to be honest with you. So So they had to scrap and claw to get back into the World Series, and they did that, and they was able to go ahead and beat the Atlanta Braves in 7 games, which was a very good game. Might I add, that was a great game 7. It was a Cody Bellinger home run that was able to get them past the hurdle, and so. Oh, James, what's going on? See, it's about to be 7. Oh, we gonna get into that. We gonna get into that. We don't want to move ahead. We don't want to move ahead, but we gonna get into that. But so yeah, the new fan show. Thank you. I appreciate you coming by. Thank you. So so look, the Dodgers played a tough Game 7 game to get to the World Series, and they have to play the Tampa Bay Rays, who's a young, scrappy team who really had to fight their way to even get into the World Series themselves by playing the tough Houston Astros team, who's a champion. Cheated, but there was a champion nonetheless. But they did cheat. Let's be honest here, and they had to play a tough 7-game series there. So both of these teams coming off Game 7 victories. They're feeling good going into the World Series. And look, this is a very, very good World Series game. Series, excuse me. And especially, I think I can say one of the craziest games I have seen in baseball came in Game 4 of the World Series, and it was a tough battle, right? It was a tough back and forth game. The Rays was throwing punches, the Dodgers was throwing counter punches. They was just going back and forth up until the 9th inning, where Kenley Jansen, who has struggled in the past couple of years trying to get saves consistently, it was a struggle. So they bring him in. He walks their high batter. His name is Randy Arozarena. I think I said his name right. He's very new onto the scene, and he just became an overnight star in this year's postseason. So he walked him. Then I can't remember what happened to get the other guy on base. I can't remember, but so 2 guys on the plate. It is a 6-7 game. It's a 6-7 game. 6-7 Dodgers lead. So Kenley Jansen gives up a hit, right? So that gets Arozarena to. No, that doesn't get Arozarena. He was on first base. That's right. So the guy was on second. He was able, who I don't remember for the life of me. He got to the plate, right? And then, oh my goodness, you talk about 2 of the worst errors you can possibly see from center fielder Chris Taylor and catcher Will Smith. It was bad, guys. Look, Chris Taylor, he was charging into the ball very fast, and he had his eye off the ball, so it didn't get into his glove. He had to run back and get it. By that part, Arozarena is rounding third, and he actually trips, guys. He actually trips, and he's stuck. He's like dead in the water. Like if Will Smith was able to get the ball, they would have had him dead to rights. It would have been they would have been out. The Dodgers was able to see another game or another inning, excuse me, because they was going to go into extra innings. And Will Smith just did not keep his eye on the ball. He was so focused on Arozarena, who was just dead in the water, where he couldn't catch the ball, and he ended up scoring. The Dodgers lose the game. That had to be one of the craziest things I have seen in baseball in a long time. Now, granted, the Dodgers was able to win the next game, Game 5, and then Game 6, which is a hard-fought game, guys. Blake Snell, the pitcher for the Tampa Bay Rays, was having the game of his life. By far, he was pitching out of his mind for the Rays. And the manager, Kevin Cash of the Tampa Bay Rays, decided to pull him out after one hit in the seventh inning. And I'm talking about a quick hook. That was so quick because he was dealing that whole game, just pitch after pitch, just blowing guys away. One hit by Austin Barnes, the backup catcher, and they get him out real quick. After that, the Dodgers just feasted on the Tampa Bay Rays bullpen, and was able to get a 3-1 lead to win the World Series in Game 6. And one of the biggest contributors of that Game 6 has to be the Los Angeles Dodgers bullpen. They played out of their minds, guys. Tony Gonsolin was their starting pitcher. He didn't do exactly well. Gave up a home run to Randy Arozarena, who, like I said, became an overnight star in the playoffs. He gave up a home run to him. But after that, once they got him out the game, the rest of the pitching staff for the Los Angeles Dodgers basically closed the door for the entire game. And you have to give them like a big pat on their back for what they did. I mean, they came in, gave up no earned runs and 14 strikeouts combined between all of them. And that's really hard to do. That's really hard to do, guys. And look, the bullpen for the Dodgers has done a good job the entire year. Like they have been a juggernaut of a bullpen. They was number one in the regular season, and they just showed it in the postseason. And so now with the Dodgers being the world champions first time since 1988, and now Clayton Kershaw, who we all know had postseason struggles and really did a bad job, in a lot of these postseasons, he excelled in this World Series. He had 2 games where he did not give up any earned runs and had 14 strikeouts throughout the whole World Series. Guys, that's usually Dodgers fans know Clayton Kershaw, when the lights are brightest, he folds under pressure. Not this year. And this paid off. This paid off right here. And now that he's able to finally get that monkey off his back and win a World Series, I think all the questions has been answered, that he's by far one of the best pitchers in all of baseball, in history, in the history of baseball. And baseball has a long history of having great pitchers, but he's right up there with all of them. And we all know he's going to the Hall of Fame. That's no question in doubt. I think with this World Series, that just basically put him first ballot Hall of Fame, because it is really hard to get in the Hall of Fame in baseball. It's really hard. But going back to the Dodgers team, this has to be one of the most complete Dodgers team I've seen in years. And that's saying a lot, because the Dodgers had some really good teams in the past like 8 years. And this is the most complete team I've seen. Like, their pitching was excellent. They hit for power. Just all throughout the lineup, it's just power. Then you just add Mookie Betts, who came over in a trade from the Boston Red Sox, decides to sign a 12-year deal to stay in Los Angeles. His first year, he gets a World Series. Like, you can't plan that out any better than Mookie Betts did this year, guys. That is a perfect season in my opinion. Now, granted, they did only play a 60-game season, which is like majority cut in half. Like, baseball is 162 games. You only play 60. Of course, people are going to say, that everybody was fresher. Everybody wasn't, feeling that long season fatigue that baseball has, because baseball goes on forever. Baseball goes on forever. But they they managed to weather the storm. I mean, even look, fans are going to say what they're going to say, but at the end of the day, they won the World Series. They still had a season. They won the World Series, and look, they're primed to have another one of these series. I mean, we all know the Dodgers, do not mind spending a little cash. Do not mind spending a little cash to make a great baseball team. So don't be surprised if you see the Dodgers right back in this position. Just do not be surprised if you see the Dodgers right back where they were, being the top guys in the MLB. And look, it's kind of funny, to really think about this year in 2020, Los Angeles Lakers and the Los Angeles Dodgers both win professional titles in their respectable sports, and this hasn't happened since 1988. Just to really think about it, because 1988, the Lakers beat the Detroit Pistons, and the Dodgers won the World Series. I can't remember who they won the World Series against, but they won. And now everybody's like, "Hey, party like it's 1988" and all that stuff. That's hilarious. I mean, to really think about it. But look, it's been a great year for sports for Los Angeles, and the Los Angeles Rams is playing well. So you never know, if they win, they can have a trifecta in American sports. Because I mean, let's be real, that's the only sports we care about as Americans: football, baseball, and basketball. So look, you never know, but it's been a great year. It's been a great year for the Dodgers, great year for the city of LA, especially after losing Kobe Bryant the way they did earlier this year. It just seemed all things was lost, like the air was just sucked out of the city. So now this definitely rejuvenates the city for both of these professional sports to win in both basketball and baseball, two sports that we love here in America. So you have to give a big shout out to the Dodgers. They did well, and they played well all season. So if you guys want to go ahead and speak on that, by all means, please let me know, and we will talk about it. So let's continue on with our next topic, and that is the NFL. NFL Week 7 has recently just passed. They started Week 8 last night with the Atlanta Falcons beating the Carolina Panthers, and Atlanta finally held on to a lead, which is a shock, because Atlanta's cursed or something. I don't know what it is, but anyway, so some of the games that I really saw that was really good, and let's start off with the Steelers and Titans. Now, those were two undefeated teams going into that game. And these are two teams that have been playing well. We all seen Derrick Henry just emerge as a superstar as he is. We've seen the Pittsburgh Steelers in that defense. That defense is stone cold, guys. That defense in Pittsburgh is some strong dudes. Hey, my Steelers. Yeah, I told you we was going to get into that, James. I told you we was going to get into some Steelers talk. So look, the Steelers, let's be real. We all knew that they was going to have a better season because Ben Roethlisberger, their leader, was coming back from injury. I mean, he's a big improvement from like Duck Hodges and other dudes that was playing for the Steelers. They stink. They was bad quarterbacks, let's be honest. So Ben Roethlisberger came back. The defense is stone cold. They do not give up rushing yards for anything. And it's just that defense is really moving them into a top team. And Tennessee on their side, Ryan Tannehill seems to be worth the contract that they paid for. Derrick Henry's good. The defense was playing relatively decent. So these were two powerhouse teams going into that game. And when I was watching the game, it looked like the Steelers was just going to go ahead and steamroll the the Tennessee Titans. I mean, that defense was playing well. Derrick Henry was not finding running lanes at all, which is very interesting. It's very interesting for him to really not find running lanes because he's so good. And then Ben Roethlisberger was playing very well, and James Conner was getting yards, playing very well. But then in the second half, things just switched. AJ Brown and Ryan Tannehill started getting a good connection together, and they came back in that game. It was just a few mistakes for Tennessee that really messed them up in that game to the point where they did lose the game. And the score was 27-24. It was a close-knit game. I think they missed a game-time field goal. I think that was it. Because, it was that. And you know, at that point, it was just over with for Tennessee. But they played really well. And you can tell both of these teams are good teams. And that these guys are going to be in the playoffs. Luckily, the playoffs did expand, and it's a better chance for a lot of these teams to that's why I thought it was a missed field goal. Thanks, James. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was. You can tell these two teams are going to be in the top of probably both of their division, but the AFC North is a really good division. Like, let me not count that out. That division is really good. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Cleveland are three teams in that division that's really good. And for the Tennessee Titans, I think they're the cream of the crop of that division. I thought Houston would have been a lot better than what they were, but they're not. They're really not that good of a team, which is unfortunate. So I expect Tennessee to win their division. And so look, we're moving ahead, and we're looking at the Pittsburgh and Baltimore game, which those two teams, each and every time they play, is always a good game. So look, I feel Pittsburgh has an upper advantage because the way that they stop the run, and Lamar Jackson is a running quarterback, and the way they stop the run, it is going to be hard pressed for me to think that Pittsburgh is not going to have a good game. But look, regardless of the fact, it's always when you have rivalry games, you can just throw the books all out the window, all the stats, all everything, because it's usually generally close games. So I'm excited to see that Baltimore Pittsburgh game that is going to happen next week. Excuse me. So let's go ahead and continue to another game that I thought was really good, which was the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals. And look, this was one of those games for Baker Mayfield that he needed. He needed this game. He had 5 touchdowns and complete I think 25 of his passes. 25 of his passes, and that for 5 touchdowns, 1 pick. That was a game Baker Mayfield needed a lot, because we all know Baker Mayfield, he had a horrible game against Pittsburgh. I mean, an absolutely horrible game against Pittsburgh. So for him to bounce back against Cincinnati, who we all know is not that good of a team right now, but that's neither here nor there. When you have a game like that, that's such a confidence builder going into the season. And the team is a playoff team as far as right now. Now, we don't know what's going to happen at the end of the season, but for right now, they are doing a good job. They're playing well. The offense is doing well. Unfortunately, not Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham Jr. has a torn ACL where he is going to be out for the rest of the season. But, you know, they still have a lot of talent on that team. You know, Jarvis Landry is a good player. Donovan Peoples-Jones going to have to step his game up. David Njoku, who wanted to get traded. He's coming back. He played well. It's about that time where players have to step up. And if Baker Mayfield can do what he did last week and continue that play, look, I think Cleveland's going to be a playoff team. So, going into next week, they do have to play the Las Vegas Raiders in Cleveland. And look, like I said, if you guys did watch the show, the Cleveland Browns tailgate show, and I was the guest with Sean Stevenson, a good friend of mine and a former co-host of mine. Look, we talked about last week how Baker Mayfield can really go off against the Las Vegas Raiders defense, who is really bad, like really, really bad. So if Baker Mayfield can continue on with that success, I think he will find the confidence in his game to where he could take that next step up into becoming that franchise quarterback that Cleveland is hoping that he will be. And so you really have to look out for that. So Cleveland, they played a great game. And let's go to Cincinnati. Joe Burrow is a stud. He's going to be a good player for years to come. That man is slinging the ball all around the field, and he is worthy of that number one pick that Cincinnati picked him up. Now, unfortunately, the rest of the team is not good, but if they add talent around him in free agency or just developing through the draft, I think Cincinnati can go back to those Carson Palmer, Chad Johnson days, and they can do that. They found a piece in Joe Burrow, and he's a player. He's a player, and if you can keep AJ Green healthy, and just keep adding pieces, to the team. Then look, Cincinnati in maybe 3 or 4 years could be really good. So you have to give big ups to Joe Burrow. He's really leading that team. He's by far one of their best players on that team as a rookie too. So big ups to Joe Burrow. So let's talk about one more game, and that is the Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals. And look, I'm going to say this straight up. I think Kyler Murray is the truth. Kyler Murray is the truth, guys. Now, we all was, shocked that he was going to be the number one pick last year over Nick Bosa, who both players are really good players. Unfortunately, Nick Bosa is out for the year. With the injury. I think it is a torn ACL as well. But Kyler Murray is the truth, guys. Kyler Murray is the truth, man. He is playing extremely well this year. You can tell his second year in the league, he's excelling. The game looks a lot slower to him now. He looks comfortable this year in Arizona. And with Hopkins coming over from Houston, just added more talent to the team. And then with Larry Fitzgerald being that great short-handed vet that he is, Arizona's the truth, guys. Arizona is the truth. And when you go and you play against Russell Wilson, who is absolutely crazy this year, and that Seattle Seahawks team, and you beat them, you have to give them their respect. You have to give them their respect. Arizona is playing is the truth this year. And look, and they're playing in a strong division too. And they're right up there with those teams. Like I said, the Rams is playing really well this year. The Seahawks are playing really well this year. Arizona's right there. That's the NFC West is one of the strongest divisions in in pro football. So with Arizona competing each and every week, if they can win these divisional games, they're a playoff team. They are a playoff team. So you really have to look out for Arizona. That was a great game that they played against the Seattle Seahawks. And look, guys, you have to give them some credit where credit is due. 5-2. I don't think anybody expected Arizona to even hang with those with the big boys in that division. You look, I don't think anybody outside of Arizona really thought this team would have been competitive like it is. And excuse me, I didn't even include San Francisco, who's a 4-3 team. Everybody in that division is over 500. The best division in the NFL by far. And Arizona is right there. Like I said, whoever's going to win these divisional games, at which the Cardinals did, beating Seattle, that's a big game that they just won last week. So look, you have to give Arizona their credit. I don't know who they're playing next week. I'm about to bring it up right now. Look, they have to play the Dolphins the next game in Arizona. That's it. That could be a win. We're talking about the Dolphins, who's bringing in Tua Tagovailoa. I probably butchered this name. Sorry, Tua, but they're bringing him here. He's a rookie. He's still trying to make his way into the NFL. This could be a big game for them to go 6-2. That is very big for the Arizona Cardinals. So you really have to give them some love for sure, because that is really hard what they are doing in Arizona and being in that division, the best division in football. So big ups to Arizona. You really have to give them some love in what they're doing. And look, they're going to be up there as a playoff team. So let's kind of look at some games coming up next week. Like I said, the Falcons ended up beating the Panthers 25-17. And you just gotta give big ups to the Falcons for not really giving up that lead. And it's a new change because Quinn is not there anymore, and their head coach. So you have to give them some love that they're playing well. So let's look at a couple of games from next week. So like I said, the Steelers and Ravens, that's going to be a tough game. We're talking about two strong teams in that division, Pittsburgh being the only undefeated team, and the Baltimore Ravens coming in with a 5-1 record, being a Super Bowl contender like they were last year. That's going to be a tough game. That's going to be a battle, slug it out, old school football game. And I think it's going to be a really low scoring game, to be honest with you. So that's going to be a fun game to really look out for. And then so let's continue on to some other games that I think has big playoff implications. And that's the Cowboys and Eagles. Now, let's be honest, the whole division stinks. The whole division is horrible. Look, as weird as it seems, it's like this could be a playoff seeding game. I mean, who's in first place? The Eagles are in first place right now with a 2-4 record. And if the Cowboys are able to win, then they will be in first place. So they will be in first place. So with a 3-5 record. Now we have to see what Washington does, because they are currently in second place with a 2-5 record. this whole division is bad. I can't I don't know. I'm trying to say some good things about this division, but it's really bad. It is really bad. But this is as crazy as it seems, as bad as these two teams are. They are right in the thick of things in the playoffs, and I mean, somebody has to win that division. So this could be a big game for both of these teams. And so let's go ahead and look at maybe one more game that people has to really look out for. Let's talk about the Vikings and Packers. Aaron Rodgers has been playing out of his mind, and these are two divisional rivals that always play each other well. Even though Minnesota is not having a good season with a 1-5 record, it still has a lot to go by because when you start those divisional games, you never know what you can get. So Green Bay with the 5-1 record, who's always in the top of the leaderboards, who's always sneaky too. Like they're always a sneaky good team. Nobody ever talks about Green Bay and how well Aaron Rodgers is playing, and that offense is doing a great job. And so that's going to be another game you have to look for. And also, let's look ahead towards the Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders, and Cleveland Browns. Now, this could be another big-time playoff game, a playoff seeding type game, because let's say if the Las Vegas Raiders win this game, right? They go to 4-3. Cleveland Browns are 5-3, right? So maybe they're trying to both fight for that last playoff seed in the AFC. So it comes down to a tiebreaker. Let's say Cleveland and Las Vegas are both right up there. Whoever wins this game could win that tiebreaker to get into the playoffs. So this could very much be an early season game that they have to watch out. This could be a very important game. So, like I said, Cleveland has been playing well. Las Vegas, they need help. I mean, on defensive wise, but Derek Carr is having a great year, and so you really have to look out for a lot of these games. So that's basically going to wrap up the NFL talk. It's been a good year for the NFL. Unfortunately, it's been pretty crazy with all the COVID-19 problems, and that they have really haven't done a good job to really keep it under check. But I mean, I guess that's what happens when you travel a lot, as far as trying to get everything under control. And so hopefully they can get that under control, and everything could go smoothly for the rest of the year. So like I said, if you guys have any questions or comments, please, by all means, please, I love to interact with my viewers. You can comment about your favorite football team being good or distinct. One of the two. I mean, just by all means, love to interact with you guys, and you can comment and everything. And I appreciate everybody who has been commenting, liking the stream, and just having a good time each and every week with me. So let's go ahead and continue on to our last topic. And of course, I'm gonna find some way to find the NBA talk in there. I don't know how, but I am. So let's go ahead and talk about our top 5 power rankings for the next year's NBA. Now, we all know this year has been a very strange year for the NBA. And it took a whole complete calendar year to finish the NBA, which is very weird because we all know the NBA to end in like middle parts of June. And by far the season will be starting right now. If it ended like normally like it usually does, the season will be started right now. It'll probably be like a couple of games in. So this is very unfamiliar territory that we're in. So like I said in the beginning of the show, the season they're planning to have a season in December and only having 72 games with no All-Star break, and they're just going to have like a week off. So just having the 72 games, which is 10 less than a regular 82 game schedule, that would be very interesting to see for them to work out. And so if they do get the season started, if not, then they're probably thinking about starting the season around Martin Luther King Day in January. So we'll have to see how the NBA plays out with that scheduling. But we do have we want to get started early, right? We're going to go ahead and give my top 5 power rankings in the NBA. And if you guys want to go ahead and give your top 5, who do you think is going to be the top teams in the NBA next year? Please, by all means, comment. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start from 5 to 1. So at number 5, I have the Milwaukee Bucks as the number 5 team in the NBA. And the reason why I put the Bucks at number 5, because they could drop off a little bit later. But because if they do not find a way to sign Giannis Antetokounmpo to a long-term contract, the Bucks is not going to be a good team whatsoever. Because they've been talking about Giannis moving to Miami to team up with Jimmy Butler and the rest of that team, because that's a very talented team as it is already with Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Goran Dragic, Kendrick Nunn, who played well, and Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo being a superstar that he's molding himself into. You bring in Giannis, that's a title team. That could be a good title team. So it depends on the Bucks. If the Bucks can find a way to get Giannis back into the fold, then that'll be a top 5 team. Now they have to add a little bit more talent, and I think Giannis needs a second superstar to complement him in Milwaukee, maybe like a Victor Oladipo, maybe, or somebody. I think that second star in Milwaukee is maybe Chris Middleton, and he's a good player, but not a star, not a superstar. He's an above average player, not a star. So they have to add some talent for the Bucks to be competitive, because next year is going to be a lot more talent, and it's going to be a lot harder to win games, especially in the East. Okay, number 4, my 4th team for the Power 5 rankings for the next year's NBA season is the Golden State Warriors. And the reason why I say the Golden State Warriors, we all know that last year wasn't the best year for them because of injuries, but they're bringing back Stephen Curry. They're bringing back Klay Thompson. They're going to add a couple of more pieces by through the draft, or they just trade away that piece for another star to come in and play with Klay Thompson and Stephen Curry. Because look, there's already a good team, so they don't need a second round draft pick that they do have already. So they have a lot of leverage. They can get rid of that pick for a desperate team that may need a superstar. So they can bring in like a star piece. Like, I don't know, you bring in, maybe you can give that pick to maybe Cleveland. They can have 2 top 5 picks. You get Andre Drummond to come to Golden State, or if they do find a way to get a draft pick. I think they should draft James Wiseman, even though they said they were not in the market for the center, because I think they want to get one a free agent, because I don't think they really care about having, a center, because they have so much talent in their backcourt with Clay and Steph on the team and Andrew Wiggins. So I think Dwight, they're trying to target Dwight Howard, which will be a good pickup for them if the Lakers do not decide to get him back in free agency, or they're just going to drop a boatload of money to Dwight Howard. So the Warriors they're going to rebuild, and they're going to be a good team next year. So you have to keep them out, be on the lookout for them, and the resurgence of the Warriors. And they finally actually have a good year in their new stadium in San Francisco, because they did not have a good first year in there. And I was one of the people who actually saw them building the new stadium. When I had the chance to go to school out there. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. For them to have a losing season like they did in that beautiful new stadium, they're going to try and come out and have a big year for that new stadium, and play hard for those fans out there in the Bay Area. So I have the Clippers fourth. So let's move on. To our third team, and that is the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, we all know the Clippers, who had a very disappointing season last year, getting bounced out of the second round against the Denver Nuggets. And we all know that was not a good season for them at all. So now, Doc Rivers is out as the coach of the Clippers. You bring in Tyronn Lue, who was basically like a Doc Rivers light, because he was on the Clippers staff already. So they bring him in, and then you still have Paul George, who's a superstar. You still have Kawhi Leonard, who's maybe top five player in basketball. And then they're going to add talent. They're going to add talent to that team with bringing in free agents. They've been talking about bringing in Rajon Rondo, who I said was that one leader that they would need in their locker room, because unfortunately they don't have any leaders in the Los Angeles Clippers locker room. Look, Kawhi is a quiet guy. He's really not going to be that one vocal guy who's just going to get all up in your face and yell at you when it's that time. Paul George is not a leader, and he's kind of phased away in the playoffs like he did this year as well. And look, the loudest guy is Patrick Beverly, but he's just a loudmouth. I mean, he's not a leader. He's just a loudmouth player that just loves to bark, and it's like all bark, no bite, to be honest with you. So you bring in a proven leader, a champion in Rajon Rondo, and that could be a good team. Now, I don't know if Rajon wants to run it back and win another title with the Lakers. But look, they have been looking Rajon Rondo's way, the Los Angeles Clippers. So they're trying to bring him to the other side of the Staples Center, to the Clipper land. So we have to see how the free agency plays out. But this is a big deal. All right, this is a big deal for the Clippers to get a leader, and to see how Tyronn Lue leads the team. And look, the Clippers going to be a top team. Don't get me wrong. This is going to be a top team for sure. So let's continue on to our number 2 team. And I have the Brooklyn Nets as a top 2 contending team. And the reason why I have the Brooklyn Nets, I mean, anytime you can get Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant on the same team with an already good team as it is already, a playoff team with Joe Harris, Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert already being there on the team. You bring those two, and also DeAndre Jordan and the others. Look, that's a good team. And then you just add Kyrie and Kevin Durant to that. That's going to be a tough team for anybody to beat out there in the East. And I can see them for sure getting that number one spot in next year's NBA season. Now, we are going to have to see how Steve Nash worked this team out. We all know Steve Nash do not have any coaching experience, do not have any front office experience. The only real coaching experience he had was with the Warriors as an advisor. I don't know what his role is exactly, but he was an advisor for the Golden State Warriors, and he was a part of those championship teams when Kevin Durant was there in Golden State, and he coached him up. He coached a lot of those teams up, and now he's the head coach. So maybe it's like a Steve Kerr situation where, you bring him in, no experience, and, he does well. He's going to be a player's coach. And now they're adding other great people to join his staff, such as Stoudemire, Amari Stoudemire coming in to help coach with Steve Nash. We all know Amari Stoudemire and Steve Nash was a tough duo back in the late 90s. Not late 90s, the late 2000s, when those like late 2000s with those great Phoenix teams that was always competing for championships. Unfortunately, they never got over the hump, but they was still a good team. So Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire could really help out. And also Mike D'Antoni coming over from Houston, being an assistant with Steve Nash, which is absolutely hilarious in my eyes because Steve Nash was a player under Mike D'Antoni. Now Steve Nash is his boss. So that's funny. That's really funny if you really think about it. So look, their talent on the Brooklyn Nets is top notch. And we have Kevin Durant, who's a top 3 player in the NBA. And you have Kyrie Irving, who when healthy, that's a big sentence right there. When healthy is a top 5 point guard. Look, that team is going to be hard to stop. When they figure it out and they start clicking on all cylinders, it's going to take time. I think it's going to take maybe a couple of months to really get together. But when they get together, they're going to be a tough team. They're going to be a really tough team to beat. So you got to look out for the Brooklyn Nets and what they're going to do next year. So the number one team next year, of course, the Los Angeles Lakers, guys. When you win the title like you did, you can't help but to say that they are they're going to be a top team next year. We all know Anthony Davis already said he was coming back for maybe a 3-year contract, a 3-year player option contract. He'd come back for his 4th year. So we have to think about that. LeBron James still has 2 years on his contract. If he's still playing the way he is playing, like he's been last year, just throughout his whole career, and Father Time doesn't catch up to him, that duo is hard to. It's going to be hard to stop, and we've seen it all last year. Now, the scary thing about the Los Angeles Lakers is free agency. That's going to be a big deal because a lot of the veterans, were under like small contracts. Like Dwight Howard, we don't know if he's coming back. Rajon Rondo, we do not know if he's going to come back. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, we don't know if he's coming back. And it's hard because we're talking about a team that just won the championship, and guys are going to want their money. Guys is going to want some money. Dwight Howard just rejuvenated his career this year, and he's going to be looking for a fat contract. He's going to look for some money this year because, Los Angeles was giving him a non-guaranteed clause. even though they did sign him for the rest of the year. He wasn't making a lot of money with the Los Angeles Lakers. So we're going to have to see if he comes back. He's going to want his money. You never know. Golden State might pay a large amount of money for him to come and play in the Warriors, and he's going to be competing for another title, either with the Lakers or Golden State. So it's some decisions there. We got Rajon Rondo, who wasn't making a lot of money. He was just coming back from year to year because he came back because we all knew when Anthony Davis came to Los Angeles, of course he was going to stay. He was going to stay because they had a chance to win a title right then and there, and he knew it. So now somebody's going to pay him as well. And then we also got to talk about KCP. KCP was a starter. He wasn't making too much money with Los Angeles. Of course, he was another player that re-signed with the Los Angeles Lakers last year because of the effects of Anthony Davis coming to Los Angeles. So he decided to stay another year. If he wants to run it back, then he can. But he's going to want money as well. So are the Lakers going to honor that and pay him? I don't know. Ooh, excuse me. I don't know. So that is something you have to really look out. The free agency is going to be different. It's going to be a different team. I do not think they're going to re-sign all of those players back because, look, at this point, we all know Los Angeles wants to redo and retool their roster. Hopefully, they can bring in a couple of more shooters, some more three-point shooters to really stretch the floor to let Anthony Davis and LeBron James do what they need to do. But look, in the playoffs, the Lakers did that, shot the ball well enough to really get them a championship. KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope played really well. And also Rajon Rondo was a revelation by hitting all the threes he did in the playoffs. That was amazing. And then, just players stepped up where they needed to step up. So, look, I don't know if all the teams are going to – I don't know if everybody's going to come back. But, look, you have to really – but, look, if they can keep adding talent or bring back the players that they had, the Los Angeles Lakers, then they're favorites by far to win the NBA title next year again. So that's my top favorite teams, just to recap if you guys did miss it. Number 5, I had the Milwaukee Bucks. Number 4, I had the Golden State Warriors. Number 3, I had the Los Angeles Clippers. Number 2, I had the Brooklyn Nets. And number 1, I had the Los Angeles Lakers. And from the looks of things, look like the Pacific Division in basketball is going to be a tough one. That's going to be a top division in the NBA. So that's something to look out for. So I want to thank you guys for coming to the show another week. I will be back, of course, next week, same time, same place. On right here, you guys can come and check me out from noon Pacific, noon to 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we will definitely get into some more topics in the world of sports. And so, if you guys are watching me on Twitch, I'm going to send you over to Fido. He is currently playing Apex Legends, so go over there and tell him what's up for me. And for everybody on YouTube and Facebook, I will see you guys next week. All right, everybody. Peace.